Folks, Brother Peter with tidbits from the Word. So glad to see you today. We're going to look at Proverbs chapter 5 today, and it deals with sexual promiscuity. All sex outside of the marriage bed is immorality. It is immoral. If you participate in sex to somebody you're not married to, boyfriend, girlfriend, saved person, lost person, whoever you are breaking the moral law of God. He does not and did not sanction or allow or permit any type of sexual activity outside of the marriage bed. And that's it. But he did say this, in the marriage bed, enjoy yourself. So any enjoyments you have outside of the marriage bed, you will pay for. You will pay for with aggression, regret, and even perhaps a venereal disease that will end your life in misery. Let's look at the scripture. When it says, my son, in chapter 5 of Proverbs, when they say my son in the Bible days, many times the son would be anywhere from 15 to 40 years old. And it was not uncommon for boys and girls to be with their mother and father until they were 35, 40 years old and maintain chastity. Maintain chastity. Actually, in the Bible days, if a young persons between 15 and 40 were found that they were sexually permissive or active, they were stoned to death. They were killed. It was a wicked sin, not only among the religious people of that day, but among anybody. That was not something that was permitted. And so, therefore, we find in the children, my son, attend unto my wisdom, and bow thine ear to my understanding. She says, bow your ear to my understanding. That's incline. Put your hand up here and incline your ear, both ears, to what I'm fixing to tell you. I'm fixing to tell you something that you need understanding in. There's coming a day when you are going to be woke up sexually. And when you are, son or daughter, you need to know how to bring that unto regulation, that thou mayest regard discretion. Wow, regarding discretion. What is that? That's preserve. Preserve yourself for the mate that you're going to have. Guard against outside sexual activity, outside the marriage bed. And that thy lips may keep knowledge. Thy lips need to keep knowledge. And we see that that is to be moral. To be moral. Have knowledge in your lips. And listen to this. For the lips of a strange woman drop as a honeycomb, and her mouth is smoother than oil. This is a perversion that has crept up throughout the ages and has come up to human beings all the way back from Sodom and Gomorrah up to today, that a woman would use her mouth for something other than what she's supposed to in this situation when we're talking about sex. And so it's not a pleasant subject. It's not a subject for all ears either, except other than to warn you as this mother is warning her son. But her end is bitter as wormwood, sharp as a two-edged sword. Her feet go down to death. Her steps take hold on hell. Wow. A Sheol. The place where it burns forever. That's where she's headed. Her steps are headed that way. And now, therefore, O ye children, depart not from the words of my mouth. remove thy way far from her, and come not nigh the door of her house. Why, today, in this day and age, you can find out what door to knock on and be invited in and be entertained sexually all over the nation. And it's going to cost you some money, but you can do it. But the pleasure in that is ill-gotten pleasure. When you leave, you have on your mind and on your conscience that what you have done, it might have relieved you in a type of pleasure, but it was a sinful pleasure. And now you have regret. And now you go and you can't sleep at night. And now you go and you have problems. And if you're visiting doors and doing that, you're going to be visiting a door soon called a doctor's door. And you're going to have to reveal your private parts and say to the doctor, say, I got a problem. And he's going to look at you, he's going to say, you sure have. You've got an incurable venereal disease. You will have it all the rest of your life. You will never get rid of it. You'll not be able to get married. You'll not be able to support a wife and a family. You'll not be able to have children unless you pass this on and they be born blind or with some kind of problem. And all because you could not contain yourself and do what was wise. If I'm talking to a young man today and you're watching this particular excerpt, look at the mothers around in the church. Look at the mothers. Go visit a daughter. Go visit a girl and watch her mother. If her mother's a worker, if the girl has to make her bed during the day and clean her room, if the girl is entertained in the kitchen, learning how to make cookies and how to cook a meal, how to boil water, how to boil an egg, how to cook a meal, if she is taking after her mother, then you found a woman worth courting. Then you find a girl worth courting. If you find a girl you like and you find out she does none of these things, you could confront her with that and say, hey, if you and I are going to go together, I want to see some change in your life. I want to know that you clean your own bedroom. You make your own bed. You put your own clothes in the dryer. You wash clothes. Why, we have today a group of girls that are as much as 15, 16, 17 years old that's never washed a wash of clothes. Wouldn't have any idea in the world how much detergent to put in a washing machine or how to even turn it on, or how to dry them, or how to fold them, how to take them out, or how to cook a meal, or how to boil water, how to do anything. This is a sin and a shame. You parents that happen to be pinched onto this, if you're listening to it, get your children started in something. No wonder the girls today are saying, I hate my mama, I hate my situation, I hate my house, because they do. There's nothing for them there. They live in a dirty bedroom with their clothes all over the place. The house is in array. They get a meal from McDonald's every now and then. A cooked meal is something that's foreign. And so, look, let's keep our children chaste by teaching them properly. By teaching them and properly. Let's look back at verse 8. Remove thy way far from her, and come not nigh the door of her house, lest thou give thine honor to others, and thy years unto the cruel. Wow. You can give your years, your strength, unto the aliens or the cruel of the world. Man, or the foreigner. You know what you are when you start promiscuously doing sexual sin? Do you know what you are? I can tell you what you are. You're headed toward total ruin. You are headed toward total ruin. Young lady, you should happen to be listening to Brother Peter. You had sex with this boy, with this boy, with this boy, and this boy, and then you get married. And every time that you have sex with that husband, you bring out those four, and you're weighing him against them. And you're saying, well, old Johnny, he was better. Old Joe, he was better. Old Sam, man, I think I liked him better. You've messed your life up, sexually messed your life up, and now you can't figure out what you really want in life. And that's why 2 or 3 years down the road, you just say, I've had enough with this guy. I'm going to find another one. I got news for you. You can find them by the dozens. You can get married 4, 5, 6 times, 7 times, and you'll never find the one that will satisfy you unless you bury, put in the past, all that you had. Ask God to let you start over. You may have to go a celibate year, a whole year, celibate. No sex, no man, no nobody. Get yourself in a school. Get yourself put away. Put away yourself privately, away from any kind of sexual activity. And hunt for a man at that time. Or boy, hunt for a girl during that period of time. Find one that's chaste. And explain to her that you weren't chaste, but that you plan on marrying her for life. I married my wife for life. I married my wife. We're 52 years married. Have we had problems? Yes. Not in the sexual field. But we've had problems, other little things that have come up between a man and a woman. But I watched her mother. Her mother was the hardest working woman in the whole town. There wasn't a harder working person in the town. The girls knew how to cook. They knew how to bake. They knew how to roast a rabbit. They knew how to cook lobsters and shrimp and stuff from the sea and fish. They knew how to clean the house. They knew how to work in the garden. And they also knew how to learn, and they also knew how to be chaste. And they followed their mother's example. And my wife has been that woman for 52 years. Still is. Still out there splitting wood. I can be sitting right here in this window talking on this YouTube. She's out there splitting wood. We still burn wood. We still live the old-fashioned way. And don't spend any more money than we have to in frivolous stuff of the world. And try to follow the Lord the best we can. Help others the best we can. Lest thou give thine honor unto others, and thy years unto the cruel. Lest strangers be filled with thy wealth, and thy labors be in the house of a stranger. Wow. I tell you what, if you follow that path, you will throw away all your money, and it will be in the house of that woman that you knocked on her door, and she said, yeah, come on in, son. You got $30? You got $30? Wow. You say, man, that's all I got. Yeah, she said, I'll take it. And it's gone. And you leave not only unsatisfied in the mind, but unsatisfied in the soul over a little bit of a fling. And say, how have I hated instruction, and my heart despised reproof. Verse 12 of chapter 5. How you hated instruction. How you hated reproof. And now you hate yourself. Now you're having a hard time living with yourself, young man, young woman. Older man, older woman, who is in this position. And have not obeyed the voice of my teacher, nor inclined my ear to them that instructed me. I was almost all evil in the midst of the congregation and assembly. Now I'm telling you, verse 14 is a life-changing verse. A young man who has seen a woman that his mother and father were right. And he sees that he's just this side of that venereal disease. Just this side of that being cast away. He's just this side of that. And he says, I'm almost I'm almost in the midst of that congregation. Verse 14. Almost in all evil. Wow. Almost in all evil. Let's flip over to chapter 16 for a second and verse 9. It's just a couple pages over right here. 16 and verse 9. Let's read that. A man's heart deviseth his way, but the Lord directeth his steps. Now the man had followed his heart the wrong way. Now the Lord can step in and direct your steps. But you got to be willing to say, God, I have sinned in this matter. I have sinned in this sexual matter. I have not done what you said in the Bible. I have done opposite. Would you forgive me? Do you know what? When God forgives you, He casts it into the sea of forgetfulness, never more to be remembered. But you can still suffer the consequences. If you've got that venereal disease, you'll have it already. You'll keep it. You'll keep it until the day you die. Drink water out of thine own cistern, and running water out of thine own well. Wow. This is talking about a man that married the right woman. He waited, and he married this woman. Now the Lord said, all is okay with you guys. You just enjoy each other as well as you want. Let thy fountain be dispersed abroad, and the rivers of water in the streets. Wow. Chapter 2, verse number 2. Let me tell you what he's saying here. That I can enjoy the sex of a married life as much as you want, legally, and have no regrets. Not just for reprocreation, but for enjoyment too, which is part of the human makeup. That's part of the human makeup. And God made us that way. He said, let thy fountain be dispersed. Let them be only thine own and not strangers with thee. He's saying, do not bring any other partners into a marriage. Do not have anything to do with people outside of the marriage. Only in the marriage. And that's all. Period. There's no other way to be it. Let thy fountain be blessed, and rejoice with the wife of thy youth. Wow. He's saying here that that wife that you married 20 years ago, 25 years ago, enjoy each other still. Still have your relationship. You may set a week, a month, or you may set a day out of a month and say, hey, the third Wednesday, we're going to enjoy ourselves in this manner. And keep yourself from looking at other women. And women, keep yourself from looking at other men. You may see a man that's the handsomest thing you ever saw. He may be the meanest man you ever met when it comes down to sexual activity. You may see the beautifulest woman you ever saw. She might be the most disgusting sexual partner you ever met. You can't go by looks. You got to go by the gift of God. The gift of God is the woman you marry or the man you marry. That's it. You could marry the most ugliest looking woman in the world and be the happiest man on earth. Or a woman, you could marry the most ugly man in the world and be the happiest woman on earth. It comes down to what you two do together, to how you get together, to how you make life be. When you sit down and talk it out with each other and say, this is kind of what I enjoy for a meal, and she cooks you that meal. Or you sit down and say, hey, why don't we go out one night a week this week and eat? You don't have to go to no ritzy place. It's just you two going out together. Sit down at the table, put your hands together, and have grace, and then eat, and enjoy yourself. This is what marriage is. Let her be as the loving hind and the pleasant roe. Let her breast satisfy thee at all times, and be thou ravished always with her love. I won't go into detail there, but it's very important when you've been married 50 years or more that you roll over every now and then and be ravished with that breast. And it's very important. That's very important for that woman. It may not be so important for you, but it's important for that woman. For you to not let you think that she has become a castaway because she has got older. But you've got older too. And so it's very important that you show her that love. Let her see that love, that she'll be satisfied with you too. Why wilt thou, my son, be ravished with a strange woman, and embrace the bosom of a stranger? For the way of man are before the eyes of the Lord, and he pondereth all his goings. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. If you're watching this, and you're living in a promiscuous situation, you need to end it. You need to sit down with that woman, or a woman, you need to sit down with that man. And you need to say, do you know, I need to get right with God. Our problem right now is that we're loving sex rather than love. Especially if you have a husband and he has a wife somewhere. And they have parted ways because they were selfish. Any marriage that's been made and is broken is through selfishness. Total, pure selfishness. I don't care what you say. You can give me 482 excuses and I'm going to bring them all back to one thing. Selfishness. You didn't learn how to live together. All you wanted was what was for you, and all she wanted was what for her, or vice versa, and you two couldn't meet in the middle and say, look, for the children's sake even, that children have become castaways today for those who are in sexual desire. They say, well, we just cannot sexually satisfy each other. No, you can't, because you haven't given it a chance. That's what you made the main point. And if you made it the main point and it fails, then you failed. You've got to back up and say, what is the main point? First place, if you're saved, the main point is God. Whew, I hate to think of what would come on me if I was in infidelity. It would scare me to death. It would literally scare me to death to touch another woman for any reason whatsoever, ever. God's gave me the one that He's a sanctioned for me. It's kind of like taking hold of a snake. You know, if you don't ever take a hold of a snake, you probably won't ever get bit. It's kind of like taking hold. It would be, for me to put my hand on another woman, it would be just like to me looking in the eyes of a cobra. Knowing that I'm going to get spit in the face and I'm going to be blind the rest of my life. And I'm going to have this degradation on me that I'll never, not ever be able to live down. I'll never be able to live it down. Oh, God may forgive me, and it may get put behind me. But right here, I'm going to remember it. And it's going to trouble me. For the ways of a man are before the eyes of the Lord, and He pondereth all His, listen to this word, goings. All of His goings. That's everywhere He goes and everything He does is pondered by God. His own iniquities shall take the wicked himself, and he shall be holden with the cords of his sin. He shall die without instruction, and in the greatness of his folly he shall go astray. If there is anything that will take a man away from God, it is sexual desire for another woman that may or may not ever culminate, and when it does, it may be the worst thing you ever got into in your life. Or woman, the sexual desire of another man. It's pretty hard right here to bring this to a head without talking rough or rude. But there's probably not a person ever born that had more sexual drive or desire than the man you're looking at. But God showed me where that belonged, and that's where I've kept it. I've corralled it in the proper corral. I've never put this horse in somebody else's stable. You need to stay in your own stable. You need to be in your own corral. You need to be where you need to be and not in somebody else's stable or corral. Wow. You don't mix an ox and an ass. They don't mix. An ox and an ass, or a donkey and a cow, they don't mix. And neither does it mix for you to go after somebody else's cow or somebody else's horse. It's a kind of whether you're a male or female. Listen to Brother Peter. This is a tough one to address. When it talked about he shall die, you can die different ways. You can die with a venereal disease, or you can die with regret. You can mess your life up. I know people have married 3-4 times. All of them were from being selfish. All divorces come from one side or the other, or both sides being selfish. You got to work on that. You need to find the Lord first. You need to find out where God would have you be in His work. You need to get your wife and or your husband on the same page. You both need to get together. You need to sit down and you need to decide what you're going to do to keep your marriage together. Your marriage is the most important thing in your life. God told Adam that he couldn't live without a helpmate. And he knew Adam couldn't live without a helpmate. And he knows that you and I, who have had a helpmate or been interested in a helpmate, need one. There are those who do not need a helpmate, never had one, never wanted one, never will want one. And they're happy. And so therefore, you need to realize if you are one that needs a helpmate, you need to keep the one you got and work it out and get it right. My time's about come and gone. I want to cut off about a couple seconds early here, a minute early, because I don't want to get any deeper into this than I've been without getting into trouble. But yeah, we have a warning in chapter 6 against idleness and fleshhood. This warning is to you and I who are married, and watch out for the snare of the other person, because this one talks about surety and different other things. But be careful. Keep your own marriage together, and God will bless you and your life. Bye-bye. We'll see you next time